Okay, today we have with us here Lust Control, a famous or infamous Austin Christian band, believe it or not. But I guess I'll ask you a few questions, what is the purpose of Lust Control, and why exactly are you called Lust Control?
Hi there, we're Lust Control. I'm Gene, this is Matt, this is Bradford, and that's Butch. And what was the question? Why the name Lust Control? Yeah. Basically, it goes back to the Pink Floyd fiasco, wouldn't you say, guys? Oh. We wanted to call ourselves Pink Floyd, but we found out the name was being used. We went to the copyright office, you know, and...
How do you like that?
After that, we kind of donned ski masks and took the name Lust Control as an act of aggression to the decision, because we were pretty bummed out. We wanted the name Pink Floyd very, very bad.
Yeah, they really did.
Actually, the band started in 1988, and we had a name called Talking Ass, and it was named after the Balaam's donkey that talked. Balaam is a character in the Bible, and he was going along the road, and God wanted to get a message to him, and his donkey kept stopping because he saw an angel, and Balaam kept hitting the donkey, and the donkey said, "Stop hitting me." And we were going to call our first album "Stop Hitting Me," and but we had a talk with a few other believers who kind of thought that name Talking Ass would just be too misunderstood, and it just wouldn't be good for us to call ourselves that name, because it's a you know, the word ass, even though it stands for donkey, is taken in another way, has a double meaning. So we were talked into changing our name, and I think it was a good decision. But anyway, we put our creative minds to work, and I happened to be looking over the lyrics to our song "Mad at the Girls," and saw the line, "I want to control my lust," and I thought, hey, Lust Control, and so that's how I came up with the name. And we've kind of written a lot of lyrics that had to deal with lust, and so it kind of fits really well.
Purpose?
Purpose? What do you think, Bradford?
Well, purpose, I guess I guess it's kind of like, you know, our purpose would be to just address some of the issues that a lot of other Christian bands just don't address. Things like, you know,
Dressing.
Yeah, dressing, yeah. And sexual purity and things like that, you know. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Matt, have you ever been bothered by elbows in your face? Here you go, Bradford, here you go. Kind of covering you up, I apologize for that.
That's alright, I'm used to it.
Name's Matt.
Elaborate on the question if you like.
Yeah, this is the microphone, isn't it?
Purpose.
I think the purpose also is to call out to people that are not non-Christians as well as those that are Christians, because let's face it, we're all sinners, and there are some things that Christians need to be aware of, and they need to be confronted on some issues that some people won't touch. And so I'm glad that I was able to be involved in something like this.
Butch, you want to...
Go ahead, Butch.
Well, the number one priority for Lust Control is to rock. No, it's to relate to you, and just be who we are and be honest, and, you know, share the solutions we found for our problems. Back to Eugene.
Okay. Back to Eugene. Well, we really want to offer a balanced perspective on sex. God created the whole idea of sex. God created man and woman, and He commanded them to be fruitful and multiply, and God made sex pleasurable. Sex is very pleasurable. God created our bodies the way they are. Sex is good, but there is a context for sex, and that context is marriage, because there's a lot of benefits for marriage. You've got an intimate relationship with one person for life. You've got that confidence in a person. You've got that trust factor, and you've got that compatibility and what's the word for lifelong relationships?
Lifelong relationships.
Yeah, lifelong relationships. That word. Fidelity and stuff. You got that trust between two people, and security in a relationship, and a living relationship, a love relationship. Sex is much more safe in that environment. The only safe sex is with your marriage partner. If you're having sex outside of marriage, you're risking sexual disease, you're risking emotional turmoil, and you're risking the opportunity to have a family before you planned on it, you know. And sex within marriage, you have that trust, and you realize that you're both going to be together for a lifelong time. So there's no tearing away. When two people come together as one in sex, there's an emotional bonding, there's a physical bonding, which we all learned about in elementary school, and there's a spiritual bonding. Yeah. Oh, okay. I learned in 6th grade, I guess. My dad explained it to me at one time in the bathroom, and I was about 9 years old, and it was just going over my head. He explained everything to me. It's pretty wild. But anyway, there's a spiritual bonding. In the Bible, in a lot of wedding ceremonies, they take words out of the Bible and say the two shall become one flesh. And God said that of Adam and Eve in the book of Genesis. And the two becoming one is a real thing that happens emotionally, spiritually, and physically. In the book of Job, you might remember that story. The devil is up in heaven, and God asked him, where were you at? What were you doing? And the devil said, I was roaming about the earth. And God says, have you considered my servant Job? There is none like him. He is righteous. And the devil thought, well, he's only righteous because you bless him and protect him. And he goes, give me a chance to take everything away from him, and he'll reject you, God. And God says, I trust in Job. You can do anything you want to him, just don't take his life. And so the devil had full authority to take everything from Job. He took his children, he took his cattle, his property, but you notice the devil didn't touch his wife because he couldn't take Job's life, and Job and his wife were one. And so God's saying you can't take his life. That meant his wife's life too. And his wife was unharmed by the devil. So that's kind of a biblical example of the oneness of marriage. And if you're having sex outside of marriage, like a one-night stand or whatever, that emotional bonding that happens, some people who've studied it see a woman, her emotional bonding happens quicker than a man. A man that's more physical happens before the emotional. And that's not a legalistic thing that everybody follows, but when that bonding happens, if there's a breakup, if it's a one-night stand, or if they go out for several years and they break up, there's an incredible tearing away of the soul and the emotions and the spirit, and that's harmful. But if you're having sex in marriage and you've got that lifelong commitment, no divorce, lifelong marriage, then you've got a place where sex can be safe and it can be protected. And so we want to really offer a balanced perspective on sex. We don't want to come here and say sex is bad, sex is wrong. It's very, very right, and it has its place, and it has its place for many reasons, and I felt like I explained some to you. So thank you very much, Todd, for asking that wonderful question.
Okay, I guess I could ask you a few things. What are your songs about? Most of them are about sex, I guess, but is that all you sing about, is sex and lust and such like that? And who are you trying to reach with this sort of music, you know, and exactly how do people react to it?
Basically, that's all we sing about is sex. We're just obsessed with it. That's all we think about. No.
Oh, drooling. Oh, stop it.
Oh, no, we sing about a lot of different issues. We got our name Lust Control kind of caters to addressing taboo subjects like masturbation and sex without marriage and lust, pornography. Big M. Anyway, we addressed whatever is on our hearts. We don't have a calling from God. God didn't say, Gene, Matt, Bradford, Butch, form Lust Control. Now, God didn't say that, but God did call us to be a light in this world of darkness, to be salt in the earth. And He's called us to address issues with truth. He's given us His Bible and His Word, which is His revelation of His character and things that are like an instruction booklet for us to live in this world. And so we were each called to address darkness when we come across it and give it light. And so Lust Control is like a vehicle for us to do that. It's like a car we all get into to go somewhere. And where we're going is to Jesus. We're trying to point to Jesus. And we sing about Planned Parenthood, which kind of is in the sexual realm because we kind of attack them for their stance on promoting sex education and for promoting immorals. They're against promoting morals, but the morals they support are amorals. And so we kind of talk about that. We talk about Operation Rescue, which is an organization that blocks abortion clinics, that keeps murder from taking place in an abortion clinic. We talk about the band U2. We talk about the rebellion and wickedness of man. You know, man is a fallen person, and we'll have Butch tell you about that later. And you're welcome, Butch. And so we address lots of issues. We're not just narrowed in on sex. In fact, lust itself, there's more to lust than sex. You know, talk to somebody who has a weight problem, and they'll tell you right away that there's lust for money, there's lust for food, there's lust for attention and fame, and there's ambition for power. And so we talk about a lot of different issues. I'll just turn it over to Matt here.
What do we talk about?
Anything. What have we addressed? What are the new songs we've written about? What do they address?
Let me think. Well, of course, there's Victim of Revolution is a new thing we're working on. That's basically on this issue of sex, but it has a neat approach. The revolution approach being that in the 60s, really kicked off the sexual revolution. It's supposed to mean freedom for everybody, and it's the biggest form of prison that I've ever seen, I think. Because 99% of this world is, and TV and everything is telling you sex is cool with anybody, anytime, whatever you want to do. If it feels good, do it. And it's a prison, and so that's what that Victim of Revolution means. What's the name of that song title?
We did The Secret. That's about sex.
Yeah, but that's from a different standpoint. It's from the standpoint of a child being molested by her own parents, and that's a major violation. That goes deeper than just sex. That's saying that, you know, this is mommy and daddy, and they're supposed to love you, and instead of loving you and treating you like their child, they're treating you like an object and a thing, and it's very abusive. We talk about the issue of speaking in tongues, which is a big deal in the church, and the approach there is to talk there again about something that is not being addressed by most Christians, most Christian bands anyway. There is a problem in the church with some of us saying speaking in tongues is from God, and it should be there if you're a Christian. If it's not, you're not a Christian. If it's not, you're not living right, you're not living for God. And then there's the other side in the Christian church that's saying that tongues is dead, it's not there, you know, it went away in years past. And we're just talking about it and just giving it straight from the Bible, what God has to say. I mean, it's as plain and simple as daylight.
What is speaking in tongues? For the viewers out there who have never even heard of the idea, what is it?
Yeah, I guess I should kind of do that. When some Christians, after they meet God and develop a relationship with Him, sometimes He will pass on a gift, different kinds of gifts, spiritual gifts to people. And speaking in tongues is one of them, and it manifests itself literally in languages that no one really knows, that no one besides, not even you, not even the person that's speaking in tongues will know. And usually there's an interpreter present, a pastor in a church, for instance, or someone that can translate what he's saying for the benefit of the church. And so that's another issue.
Yeah. We did the song Deliverance.
Yeah.
About deliverance from demonic oppression and possession. And we did the song Rebuke, which is about witnessing, telling other people when you meet Jesus, it's like the greatest thing that can happen to you. I mean, it changes your life. It's neat to wake up and know that you're pure and clean. It's just a wonderful feeling. And faith is not just feeling, it's fact. But there's a neat feeling involved, and when you have that feeling, you want to share it with others. Just like when you're a pagan and you score some good weed, you want to share it with your buddies, you know. And it's like when you become a Christian, man, you score this great big salvation, and you want to share it, you know. So that's another subject we've talked about.
Who's up now?
Bradford or Butch or who?
We got a song called "You Make Me Puke," and that's a pretty good song. I like it. It's yeah, basically it's kind of about neither being hot nor cold for God, and that there's a scripture in Revelation talks about that where he's people are not hot or cold, and and God spits them out of His mouth, and basically that's what that song is about. It's just, you know, taking a stand. You know, you can't ride the fence, and it's either are saved and you know God, or you don't, and there's no kind of halfway. You can't you can't have the best of both worlds.
A lot of us tend to have mixed feelings about where we stand with God, and it's easy to have a certain way of living or mode or a philosophy and want to say that's the right way, or that's the way that's good for me, or whatever, and then God comes in and says, well, what about this, what about that? And you say, well, yeah, you're right, but you know, you confess acceptance of that philosophy, and then you live another way, or you won't consecrate yourself to it. So that's what, when the Bible in Revelation talks about being lukewarm, not hot or cold, not decided one way or the other, but in the middle. It's frightening because that makes God want to puke.
Yeah, thanks. Basically, as you can tell by this gesture, we are a Christian band, and we have a worldview that's based upon a belief in God. So we might come across as very strange. We might use language that's different, but we don't want to alienate people. We want to be able to explain the things we're talking about. We don't want to use a term like speaking in tongues and then just try to make you guess what we're talking about. We want to be a common person's spokesperson. You know, we're in love with God, and we know who He is, and He's teaching us more about Himself every day. And the more we learn, we want to explain to people and just kind of relate Him to others. So, so we're a Christian. How have people reacted to us? What, Butch?
Well, I've seen people bulge their eyes open more than all of us could at once. But mostly lighthearted. Mostly, there's a lighthearted response. People are rather entertained. Some people think we have something to say, and some people wonder why we say anything. How do you react, Bradford?
How do I react? Well, I was rather shocked, you know, by the stuff we're writing and doing. You know, it's just so upfront. And it's kind of in your face, and it's not wimpy stuff like some other Christian bands. That, you know, it's just real bold.
Gene?
You know, like I said, we're a Christian band. We're not ashamed of where we're at, and we're from Austin, Texas. We live here, and yeah, we rehearse in the rehearsal shack in Austin, Texas. And
have you been to the rehearsal shack? You'll find us there.
That's right. We're there, and we play. Yeah. Yeah, they get very, very hot, especially when you're running around in a cow field. We play music that's kind of punk thrash. There's no musical rules in Lust Control, so we've varied. We can do different styles of music, a hybrid of different styles. Yeah, we've done a blues tune for different things. We've done thrash, and so we're delving into some other areas.
Crash.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay. We're training new Lust Control members in the future.
I'll take the time.
Hey, we got a spare ski mask. Gonna work?
I saw like on MTV today they had this Rock in Rio, this big thing, all these musicians in Rio, and there's like 500,000 people out there. If you were actually able to do that, I mean, perform in front of, you know, 1 million people, I mean, something big like that, you know, you have your 15 minutes of fame, so to speak. What would you tell these people? I mean, this is a chance. What would you say to them?
I always try to relate to my audience, figure out who my audience is, and then communicate to them. If we're performing in front of a bunch of Nazi extremists, you know, we're not gonna. We might address hatred and racism, you know, and hit them where they live. If we were at a Woodstock reunion or a Rio festival, I would probably have a tendency to want to say, hey, consider Jesus Christ. Jesus is a real person. He was on this earth. Libraries are full of books that document the travels and ministry of Jesus Christ on this earth about 1,991 years ago. And I would just challenge people to consider Jesus, and I would tell them that He's a real person, that He's not a joke, that God's not a fairy tale, and that the things around them were created by God. And I would, that would be one of the first things on my mind. We would probably play the songs that deal with all the issues we deal with, and we don't talk and explain every song for 10 minutes before we play it, but a lot of our songs communicate stuff.
We're there to entertain as well as to have a message, because, I mean, let's face it, music is entertainment and showbiz, so that's part of the gig.
Do we compromise musically, Bradford?
I don't think so.
Do you think so?
I'm an entertainer, hey, yeah.
He's an entertainer, and this is the man with the question.
It's bedtime for the little people. Anyway, oh look, I can film myself interviewing here. Is that cool? Yes, I have a question, but I'm out of focus. Let's go back over here. Okay, y'all are y'all straight out say what you're singing about. I mean, people know exactly what you're saying, but some Christian bands these days, they kind of water down stuff a little bit. You know, they're afraid to say the name of Jesus and such. Yet there are secular bands out there in the world that they seem like they're looking. They're actually mentioning God, like there's the MC Hammer rap song, and he's saying we should all pray and such like that. Like the world's looking. Any commentary on this?
Well, yeah, MC Hammer sang on a Christian album by an artist named John Gibson in California. Did a rap song about 4 years ago, and MC Hammer is an evangelical Christian, from what I hear. And I tend to give the benefit of the doubt to people. I don't scrutinize everybody's testimony. Yeah, I saw Martha Quinn read that credit over MTV. I think that MC Hammer's song "Pray" has done more ministry as far as Christian message to the world than all of Christian music put together in the last 10 years. I mean, that's a bold statement to say, but that song has just gotten through more doors and got the message of praying to God, to the Lord, to millions of people, and we applaud that. You know, we don't. You know, we're happy that it's happening. There's a lot of artists out there that I think people are searching because there's a void in every person's life. You know, God created us to know Him, and if we don't have that void filled with God Himself, there's going to be an emptiness there, a hunger that never goes away. And so people search, they try to fill that with different things like chemicals or relationships, sports, activities, religious activities, church activities.
Wait a minute, you mean that doesn't mean God's happy with you?
Some means that some religious people make God puke. You can get so caught up in working for God that you don't even know Him, and you just it's like a husband and wife, and she spends the whole time in trying to work for his pleasure when he already loves the woman, and she's wasting her time running around. They never sit down and kick back with each other and fold their arms like a monkey does. I think now that there's war happening in the Middle East, there's more reason for people to be searching. There's you know, there's some heavy things going on in this world. There's the plight of the homeless. There's suffering all around us. America has kind of been fortunate enough not to suffer as much as other parts of the world, but now there's always been suffering everywhere, personal suffering, but suffering, we're seeing it in America a lot more now, and people have reason to question what's going to happen when they die, because you know, death looms over our heads with nuclear fear and with the threat of war. I know death is one of your favorite topics, Todd, and so
You just hold it. It's not going to pick up the guitar good.
yeah, okay. Good.
Sound check, sound check. Okay. Okay, don't kick this, please.
Please don't. Okay.
All right, you guys ready?
Ready?
Matt and Butch, you ready? Yeah.
Ready? Gene, go for it.
Planned Parenthood, they ain't no good. Thank God for godly parents. Thank God for godly teachers who don't limp out when it comes to the truth. Thank God for godly preachers. Planned Parenthood make me sick to my stomach, and sometimes I just want to cry. Your answers to kids lead to their destruction. I got one question: why? Planned Parenthood, you ain't no good. It's only planned to brainwash the nation. Planned Parenthood, you ain't no good. Justify murder and fornication. Tell my boy to wear a condom, so when he's old I had to take your course. Mandatory sex ed in the school, you're coming in like a Trojan horse. I'm not afraid to tell my kid about sex if you want to teach her to play. Give her a pill, made a killer baby, you're gonna pay yourself someday. Planned Parenthood, you ain't no All right, that's the acoustic version of Planned Parenthood. It's the first time ever live.
So this Planned Parenthood acoustic, this gonna be on that live CD, the acoustic set at Todd and Lori's, or what?
Yeah, Todd Pannell is producer for a show called Real Visions, and also the Techno Society. Todd has got this great job at this factory place, and he's gonna invest in this CD live at Todd and Lori's house, and so his money's going into it. He's gonna press them up and do full color inserts and everything. It's right. Our ski masks kind of defray some of that adoration and stuff, because we know our music is so good that people are gonna adore us. Just kidding. That having a no image kind of image of not knowing who we are kind of defrays some of the whatever people might give us. So our mystery and mystique kind of deflect some of that stuff. We get excited about the music we play. We have fun with it, and you know, a lot of artists and people who create things, it's a challenge for them to deal with pride and with ambition. You know, I mean, in my heart, you know, there are many times where I see my flesh or my natural desires are wanting to be powerful and important or whatever, and but I've just gotta put those things in proper perspective, and it's just I mean, I'm just flesh and blood, and I'm not I'm a goon basically. I'm a weird person, and I stay down to earth pretty easily. Bradford humbles me a lot. He humbled himself at work the other day, but it's a long story.
Yeah, it's a long story. We can't get involved in it.